Hey, good evening, everybody. This is I guess you could say, inspired to do a Facebook Live video. I don't do these a lot. Maybe I should consider doing them more often. There are some people on the East Coast, for example, who wanted me to do something like this. So that's fine. I'm doing it now. It's going to be probably more sporadic than most people would like me to do. So I just want to share, first of all, I am getting my channel back. I have it as Chris Shopper. That's my middle name, Chris. Arthur Christopher Shopper. Most people know my full three names, but that's where I have it now. So I'm going to be talking about there's a lot of things that I wanted to share to the public about what happened in the CNN panel, and I submitted a long article to Town Hall. In the past I was able to submit an article that was longer than 1,000 words, but this time the editor said only 1,000. That's all. So I said, "Oh brother, I had to cut out a lot of stuff." So there's the general good things I'd like to share. Once again, it was really awesome. Everything was paid for. I was picked up at the door of my house. I was driven to LAX. I flew out to Kennedy airport, and I got there. I left the airport at 9 a.m. in LAX. It was a 5.5 hour flight. I landed finally at Kennedy Airport at 6 p.m., but the sun was still shining. I mean, we're in the middle of summer. It was really nice. I was able to get a great dinner at the Hudson Hotel. Someone asked me, "Do you live in Temecula?" I live in Torrance, California. I live in the South Bay of Los Angeles County. We have the best weather here. Even when people are roasting in the Inland Empire, it's nice and cool here. We've got the nice marine layer that generally protects us. So anyway, I had a great time. I met some of the locals there. I didn't have a lot of time to walk around and do stuff until the next day. So I flew in on Sunday. Monday morning, we were instructed to go to the Time Warner building, which is right across the street from the Hudson Hotel. I had remarked, I thought how interesting it is. You have so many news anchors at CNN who are big on the whole open border agenda, or they want to give us sob stories about what the poor illegals are going through. I had anticipated that the panel was going to touch on the border crisis of parents and children being separated, etc. But at any rate, I came into the CNN building. I got a badge. They have all these security measures for people coming into the building. What an irony. While at the same time, they are so big on the whole open borders thing. I thought that was kind of funny. So then I went up to the fifth floor. I met with the desk security there. Then they instructed me to go up two more floors, whatever that is, why ever they did that. And so there it was. So I went into the room. There were a couple other people. I was early. Chris Gagan was already there, and Jeremy Montanez was there. Damani Felder was there. The ladies, the staff took longer getting their makeup done. It's not because they were ugly. It's just that's what happens. Women take longer when it comes to makeup. I was taken care of very quickly. They just put enough powder on my face and in my forehead so that the light didn't smear me away, because light shining directly on somebody's face will smear you away. So we were instructed by the intern in the room before we went to the main sound stage, the green room. We were instructed not to talk about politics. We could talk about anything else. I got people's names. I found out where they were from. I didn't have a really strong idea of where where the participants stood, whether they were glad that they voted for Trump or whether they regretted it. With Chris Gagan, it was a little different. He just mentioned in passing that he was the chairman for a county Republican Party and had resigned. And I had heard something about it where it was a resign in protest, so I kind of knew where he was going to be. Then Bianca Gracia showed up, and she recognized me. I had seen an email from her that had been sent to me through Marco Gutierrez, Latinos for Trump, living up there in the Bay Area. He had invited me to consider coming onto the panel. CNN had reached out to him first, but he couldn't do it because he was going to be in Portland Oregon, for that weekend, because the taping was supposed to, well, for Friday, August the 5th. That's when I think it was the 5th or well, going back a few days. Marco had anticipated that they were going to do the taping on Friday. Then CNN moved the calendar back a few days, so then it was on August, well, I mean, just this past Monday. Sorry if I can't think of it off the top of my head right now. It was August the 6th. August the 6th. I flew in on the 5th, the Sunday, and then the taping was on the 6th, the Monday, and then the first segment aired on Tuesday the 7th, and the second segment aired on August the 8th. So there's a lot of exchanges that took place in the panel. I mean, we were there for an hour. And yes, it was a very passionate and heated exchange of ideas. The biggest problem I had was with Marcy Sellett when she called anybody who voted for Trump as an idiot or idiots. And I said that. I'm not an idiot. I take real offense to that. On behalf of 63 million Trump voters, it was a wise decision for us to put Donald Trump in the White House. Crooked Hillary would have been an absolute disaster for this country. I'm not the only one who has said this. Democrats have said that. Independent voters have said that. I've met liberal voters. They ended up writing in Bernie Sanders or they voted for Jill Stein. But to have anything like that hideous woman in the White House would have been an absolute disaster for this country. And it didn't bother me one bit that CNN wanted to use that as the original byline. The videos originally had "I am not an idiot," and then I've gotten a little bit of hate here and there from people. What I've noticed is that Twitter trolls and Facebook trolls, they don't have a following. They don't matter, so I don't waste my time with them. So that just leaves it at that. So there were a couple of other exchanges which I had written about in my original draft of the article that didn't make the final cut either because it was too long. Christopher Gagan commented that President Trump is undermining his oath of office, his constitutional duties. And I asked him very candidly, name one. And so Chris Gagan said, well, it's NATO. And I said, NATO is not in the Constitution. Well, it was a treaty. Sure, it was a treaty that was confirmed by the U.S. Senate. And it's a treaty in which our allies have not kept their end of the bargain. And President Trump had every right to go to Germany, to go to other countries in Europe and say that they need to start paying their fair share. He had absolutely every right to do that. That to me wasn't unpresidential. That was extensively presidential. We've had previous presidents who have not held our allies accountable to do their jobs and to pay their part. We've got a couple of people already have asked about that Jeremy Montanez guy, and I'm going to be getting to that in a minute. So I recognize that CNN is fake news. In fact, I even made a comment during the panel. They were so obsessed with Russia. They were constantly talking about Russia. They wanted to talk about Stormy Daniels. They wanted to talk about all these personal picadillos. Allison Camerota mentioned that. But when it came to the Russia issue, I called him out on it, and I said, you're obsessed with this. You're trying to draw some kind of equivalence where the president is diminishing our country and making it on the same level as Russia. That's not what he did during the Helsinki summit when, to me, as I had said, and they allowed my statement into the final cut, the fact that our president wants to have a strong and positive relationship with every world leader, as many as possible, is an all-around good thing. The argument about, well, Russia tried to interfere in our elections. They've tried to do it before, and the United States governments in the past have tried to interfere in Russia's politics. It happened as early as 1917, shortly after the Russian Revolution. President Woodrow Wilson directed American military to go through Finland to try to fight and send reconnaissance missions against the Russian Soviet government. This has happened before. We've seen, Barack Obama tried to influence the elections in Israel and failed. He influenced the elections in Canada. That's part of the reason that Justin Trudeau got elected and why it's totally accurate to consider him the white version of Barack Obama. He's been a very influential president for the worse, prime minister for the worse in Canada. I can only hope that he will be a one-term prime minister, I hope that Andrew Scheer is up to the task in removing him from office in 2019. So there's been a lot of talk about, oh my gosh, there were plants on the panel. They were all plants, blah, blah, blah. You know, they were all CNN employees, blah, blah, blah. Now, the first reason I debunk this is a lot of people claim that Christopher Gagan was a plant. He's not. There are a number of articles which have reported on him that he was the county chairman for the Belmont County Republican Party in southeastern Ohio. It's also true that he used to be a Democrat. He told me that after our panel. We all went back to the Hudson Hotel. He had to fly out earlier because he wanted to be back at home with his family. I was there Monday morning. We had the panel, and then Monday afternoon, my flight was scheduled to fly out at 6. By the way, I missed my flight. I ended up having to fly out at 7:40. I missed it, and I had to wait another hour. I mean, the traffic in New York was absolutely terrible. My limo ride, well, it was actually, a minivan ride that was selected to flew me out. I mean, it was scheduled to pick me up at 4. It should have been scheduled to pick me up at 3. You know, this is small details. Okay, so Chris Gagan was not a plant. I can assure you of that. Honestly, a lot of us felt that Marcy Sellett was most likely the plant because she was so vicious and confrontational in her opposition to the president at this time. She didn't even raise her hand when Camerota had asked, which of you regrets your vote? Anyway, she has been on previous segments of CNN as well. I ultimately don't see any reason to doubt whether that she would be a plant or not. Okay, so the biggest reason I'm doing this video or going into this segment is that all this noise that Jeremy Montanez was a plant. And ultimately, first of all, let me be very clear. I really don't care. I honestly don't care. Because when I was on CNN, I spoke the truth. I went right into the belly of the beast, along with Bianca and along with Damani, and I spoke the truth. I spoke the truth to the media conglomerate, which is losing strength as we know it, and stumped for the president. And I was really surprised, as were many friends of mine who watched the two segments, that CNN permitted my comments about illegal immigration, about how the parents and the parents are at fault for the separations at the border. And I, to the best of my knowledge, aside from the reports in Breitbart, I'm the only one who's mentioned, and the media allowed it to be broadcast, that the kids who are separated at the border are getting excellent food and shelter, care, education, recreation. They're getting better quality care than American citizens are, especially our homeless and working class Americans who have struggled for 8 years under Barack Obama's middling wannabe autocratic tyranny. At any rate, so the Jeremy Montanez guy. So I had no idea where he stood on the issue. All I know is that there were 5 of us in the room before we went to the stage. We had to veer away from talking about politics, and I was pretty surprised at how outspoken he was in his opposition to the president. He voted for him, and then he regretted it. There were some other things he had said. Yeah, he said the president was a monster. He had some really strong views, but what was unique about it was that he didn't make personal remarks. A number of times during our exchanges on the panel, he shook my hand. I shook his hand. He patted me on the back. I didn't support what he said. At one point during the panel, I said, why is he a racist? I questioned his points of view. I questioned these talking points. This is what I've done many times. Whether I'm counter-protesting in downtown Los Angeles, whether I visited college campuses when there's a keynote speaker, I am interested in finding out. I challenge people's points of view without attacking them personally. A number of times, he patted me on the back. We were very cordial to each other. Whether or not he's a plant or not, to me, well, I'm going to share with you why I don't think he was a plant. I do think that he's a very confused individual. And I haven't been able to contact him ever since. I don't know if he blocked me on Facebook or not. He was texting to me earlier. I'm pretty sure there's been so much horrendous attention paid to him because of all the videos that have been released that he probably went into hiding. I don't know. I really don't care. I know that, my good friend Harim He got in touch with some very deep issues in his life that were very painful, and he was able to face them. For a brief period, he shut down his Facebook account, but then he opened it up again. At any rate, people are allowed to have their strong opinions. They're allowed to block me, not block me, talk to me, not talk to me, whatever it is. I'm just going to tell you as much as I can without violating his privacy what happened after the panel. So you can see some of the videos. I upload that. I have an Instagram channel. It's Arthur Shopper or A Shopper 1208. That's my birth month and birthday, December 8th. I have an Instagram channel. I uploaded the videos to that, along with photos that I took in the green room. I called it the brick room. I sat at Chris Cuomo's desk. I took a photo there. I had it on my Facebook profile. We all took group photos together. I took a photo with Allison Camerota, but I didn't back an inch. I still said CNN is fake news. I called them out in the panel. I said to them, I said it brazenly because of their obsession with Russia. I said, this is why your ratings are in the tank. You are so obsessed on these non-issues while you're ignoring the fact that the United States is becoming energy independent, that the president has done an incredible job protecting the Second Amendment. I mentioned that. I talked about the Second Amendment in my first statement after I said I support the president even more. They only focused on the pro-life issue and the illegal immigration, but they cut out the part about the Second Amendment for some reason. I don't know why. They also, with Bianca, they cut out the segment where she talked about how the president has done a great job for small business owners, has done his part to repeal the onerous regulations, especially related to Obamacare. All that stuff ended on the cutting room floor. I submit also that the second segment was not as good as the first segment because they were trying to make a lot of hay out of the foreign policy issue, especially about Russia, and I was able to really knock it out of the park. I also mentioned that the true foreign intervention in our elections has to do with illegals voting, and that to me is a very salient issue. Damani and Bianca agreed with me, but of course that didn't make the final cut either. Nobody wants to talk about that. Although I know there's a book coming out by a guy named Eggers talking about the Democrats' plot to steal election 2018 with voter fraud. And I think that's a book that's probably going to be worth reading. At any rate, so after the panel, we were all really cordial. We took photos together. We walked out together. We were friends together. We were charitable to each other. Marcy Sellett, she lives in New York City, so she just went back home. The rest of us went back to the Hudson Hotel. We gathered together in the lobby. And we were very cordial to each other. I took another segment. We took a segment. I did a minute and a half video. I showcased everybody. You heard the comments from Jeremy Montanez. I may not like the president, but I'm here. I was on CNN, and I was able to stay at the Hudson Hotel because of you. So thank you, Mr. President. What was really interesting about that, and I shared it in my article, all of them were Democrats. They were all an example of walking away, and I'm going to accept that Jerry Montanez did indeed vote for President Trump. In spite of all the talk about how he was a plant and he had all these negative views of the president, what he had to share with me was no secret. What people found on his Facebook page, on his Facebook profile, he told me about it. He told me about all this stuff. He told me that he was a democratic socialist. He told me that he supported an assault weapons ban. He also told me that he supported single-payer health care. None of this is a surprise to me. None of it. We talked about it. In fact, he invited me to have lunch with him at the hotel. And he said to me, tell me what you think of the president. Educate me. He said that. So if people want to make the claim that he was a plant, this is a guy who played the part way too long. If somebody is a plant on a panel, they don't keep playing the part. They just show up, they do their cordial niceties, and then they leave. There's a couple comments that I'd like to step in really quick. Bill, I saw you, but you did not get much mic time. I cannot disagree enough. The points that I felt were the most salient were heard. There were 6 people on that dais or on that stage, and it was important that all of them were heard. My biggest concern was that I was going to overpower people. Some people still said I said too much. Ultimately, I can't be worried about how people feel or don't feel about if I got to say enough. Yes, it was a great vid. Thank you so much. Been seeing you, a Cheshire Cat. Been seeing you a lot lately. Good to see you again. Let me see. I'm just looking back. Go, Arthur. You always know your shit. Can I write? Yeah, it's okay to write it. I probably won't say it again. The Red Elephants outed one of the Trump supporters. I just disagree with that assessment, and I'm going to give you more reasons why. Okay, so we had an extended discussion about a lot of issues. He listened to me. He told me that he had voted for Trump because he really hated Hillary Clinton. He admitted to me that he was not even sure what he had done when he had voted for the president. He also knew that as a Californian, he had to register as a Republican to vote for Trump, even though we have this open border top two jungle primary now. Your registered affiliation, it doesn't matter, except in the presidential elections. It does matter. And the fact that he was aware of that and informed me about that, to me, informed me that he was a genuine person with what he was telling me. There were a lot of other personal issues he shared with me. I'm not really comfortable sharing all of that. But what I can tell you is he wanted to go to Trump Tower. He paid for the Uber to drive me to Trump Tower. If he was a plant, why would he do that? Unless he was really playing the part well. And this goes to the bigger issue. I really don't care. I was blessed and I was prosperous. I had a great time and he paid for part of it. His mother was a Trump supporter. I saw the text messages briefly on his phone when he gave me his phone to help me find out how to get to Trump Tower. I saw the messages from his mom to confirm that he was communicating with her and that she was glad that he was a Trump supporter again. I got him to change his mind again. Or I went with it. He was there at Trump Tower with me. He sat down with me, with Bianca, and with Damani. We were at the restaurant right next to the escalators where the president had come down the escalator to announce his presidency in June of 2015. I met Eric Trump. I took a selfie with Eric Trump, and Jeremy was there with us. For me, his behavior, his statements, his actions demonstrated to me that he was a genuine person. So, I'm not accepting this garbage that he was a plant. I will say to you that he's a very confused individual. There's a lot of challenges that he has faced in his life. Some other interesting stories I can tell you is that he was seeking help in a government agency in Los Angeles County, and he saw illegal aliens getting help immediately. But he, as an American citizen, was forced to wait 7 months. He spoke fluent Spanish. He had lived in Mexico and Michoacan for 16 years. His Spanish was excellent. We had Spanish-speaking chauffeurs that drove us to and from the airport. They were all from the Dominican Republic, and Jeremy Montanez spoke fluent Spanish with them very well. This guy was not a plant. He was the real deal. What really bothers me about this and why I'm making a bigger take on this is I just don't like lies being perpetuated. But it's too bad. Everybody's going along with it. Hey, what's up, Chewy? Jesus Torres. The video does not lie. This video is not lying. This is Arthur. I'm not lying. He is admitted being a socialist. I will say this a third time. Jeremy told me he was a democratic socialist. He told me. It's not a surprise, folks. I knew this stuff before the Red Elephants made a video about it. To me, no offense, folks, but I look at the whole world, and I think a lot of you have been taken for a ride. To me, the joke's on the vast majority of people who want to see a conspiracy here. And it's just funny to me because at the end of it all, I got to be on CNN. I got to speak for my president. I got to point out why. I got to call CNN fake news to their face. I got to call out their low ratings, even though and here's the best part, they paid for my hotel, they paid for my food, they paid for my transportation. I don't lose on the deal here. But the other thing is, folks, a lot of people have these left-leaning views, but to me, it's just that they're uninformed. Montanez was really upset about what happened in Puerto Rico. Nothing. It's just not so. I said to him, did you know that the same mayor who hated the president, is now under investigation for corruption? And there's a lot of corruption in Puerto Rico. Oh, I didn't know that. When it came to single payer, I gave him the video of Steve Crowder trying to get health care in Quebec. I said, look into this. It's not so. I am not going to miss any opportunity to speak to someone on the left or center left or who's a socialist or whatever to make the case. We have to start changing minds, and we're not going to do it if we just smear people with, well, he's a plant, I'm not going to waste my time, blah. With that kind of an attitude, we'll never make a difference on college campuses. With that kind of an attitude, we're never going to make a difference on social media. You know, churches rejected television. They saw it as a bad medium. They saw it as devilish. And what ended up happening? The corrupt, fallen, depraved world took over television. And there was a lot of potential there that was lost in ministry. That's ridiculous. Steve Gutenberg didn't have that attitude when the printing press was invented. He used it to print the Bible and to deliver God's word to the masses, at least in a way that was the closest to mass communication as was made available in the 1500s. I know we see churches, charities, small businesses. We see activist groups now using television and now using social media. So let's just put that aside. All I can tell you folks is that Jeremy Montanez was a genuine guy. Arthur, you have to understand, and the attack came out within hours with proof. Oh, yes. Okay, I keep talking to me, Jesus. I'm happy to have this discussion with you. But the fact is, this is a guy who's very confused. I know a lot of millennials who were Bernie supporters. They were attracted to the populist outsider rhetoric. A lot of millennials just don't understand, or the post-millennials don't understand the destructive aspects of socialism. Cyrus is a friend of mine. He's in Nevada. He wanted a single-payer healthcare system. You know, we should have healthcare just like the post office. And I said to him, and a friend of mine, Janet, we corrected him and said the post office is extremely inefficient. They have cost overruns every year. They lose. There is no quality or cost controls. Cyrus didn't know that. Cyrus didn't know that. A lot of people just don't understand. So there it is. And I don't withhold my sentiments on this. I'm really frustrated too. The Red Elephants have been a consistently racialist, biased, anti-Jew, anti-Semitic channel, and I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt. I debated two of their best friends. One was James Alsop on the race issue. I don't think that just because you're black means that you're likely to be stupid. I don't think that IQ correlates with race. I had that discussion. Then there was the debate with Nick Fuentes, which was superficially disastrous, but it worked out in the long run. There's a lot of stuff I tried to counter. And then I start to realize that a lot of these alt-right trolls are just looking for media attention. And then there was Dinesh D'Souza's documentary that comes out. Richard Spencer, to me, I find that guy hard to even believe. I think you want to talk about a plant. I think Richard Spencer is more of the plant. He's a tool of the media that tries to smear President Trump, the MAGA agenda, conservatives, Republicans as white supremacists when the guy's a full-on leftist. And he's admitted as much. A collectivist, an atheist. You know, he has a full-on Snake Power Force says, I don't listen to the Red Elephants. I'm going to tell people, I really don't want to go public with this, but I wouldn't listen to them either. I think it's time to unplug it. You know, I'm interested in people who go to the city council meetings, the county boards, who go public. I like what Fleckus Talks does. Fleckus goes to the people and asks them questions. Lisa, Arthur, they saved your ass when you were being spit on by Antifa. No, Christ saved me and directed them to come pick me up. God uses any vehicle that he wants to. You can read from fiction accounts and fact accounts, and I have never not been grateful to them. I said that to David Feiner one day. I said it was God's grace that brought you guys to pick me up there in Berkeley. Absolutely. So I don't despise that. But just because someone has done me a favor doesn't mean that I'm going to tout and promote points of view that are destructive and wrong. I'm allowed to say that. It's a free country. And just as you're free not to watch me or listen to me or to unplug me too. Awesome. Someone says Richard Spencer is the biggest shill. I really couldn't agree with you more. I don't know if Richard Spencer is even for real, but I'm going to take him at his word. He goes on television and he says these very crazy things that are almost unbelievable. Like he says, well, I don't believe all men are created equal. Nobody really believes that. I do. Lots of people do. This country was founded on those principles. I believe that's part of why this country is so great. that we didn't look at people's ethnic background or prior ancestry or look at their economic station at birth and then decide that's where you're going to stay. That's that's a constant. That's been a social constant in Europe and in Asia for a long time. We're starting to see that breaking away. The caste system is falling apart in India. We're also seeing we're seeing how government intrusion and overregulation is now harming people's daily lives in Europe, especially because of a European Union which is completely unaccountable, which has these sclerotic bureaucratic rules which make reforms impossible, and how these commissioners are completely unaccountable and unattainable to the people. A couple other things. Some of the people I debated, James Alsop, he seems to be okay with socialism. He's an agnostic. He's a collectivist. Nick Fuentes said in the debate that he's pro-fascism. He said that. And he also said that women are half of a man. This doesn't sound like conservatism to me. This doesn't sound like right thinking. This sounds like the age-old left-wing talking points. We are saying by and large, okay, Johnny Five, I love the humor. Just remember, all men are created equal, but some are more equal than others. Right out of the collectivist manifesto or the satire of Animal Farm. Fight the New World Order. And this is another thing, too, and I've talked about it before. The Red Elephants are, and some of these other alt-right groups, they're just obsessed with Jews control everything. No. Sorry, folks, but that's more left-wing SJW victimization talking points. It's the Jews' fault that media sucks. It's the Jews' fault. No, it's not. No, it just isn't. There are too many Jews who are conservatives who are making a difference. Let's talk about Dennis Prager. Let's talk about Mike Levin. Ben Shapiro, I don't agree with, but he's certainly educating a lot of people. I talked to one young man yesterday in Glendale who's become a much more effective, articulate conservative because of Ben Shapiro's efforts. I don't like his Never Trump stance. I think he's becoming a little too corporate. That's a real problem to me. Every time I'm in West Los Angeles, I meet Orthodox Jews. They voted for Trump. I don't believe in pegging anybody by their ethnic status. I believe in looking at people's actions, words, deeds. And this kind of broad labeling of ethnic groups is not helpful. This is left-wing talking points all over again. It causes me to suspect that a lot of these YouTube channels, which are a flash in the pan, they're just looking for this very incendiary rhetoric and ideological focus, and it gets them a lot of people subscribing to them on YouTube, and it gets them clicks. Big tech giant owners are not Jews. Thank you very much. Israel is not a pariah state. There's a lot of things I needed to be informed about. What Nick Fuentes had to mention about Lavon affair, the USS Liberty, all that other stuff. These were things I didn't know about. But now that I do know about them, I understand why people are misled. About Israel. Jacob Wohl is a very articulate and effective young millennial, and he's Jewish, and he's a Zionist, and he caught me up to speed on other affairs. Lots of people reached out to me on social media and explained how this whole, I don't know why I'm talking about that subject, but I'm just saying I don't take the red elephants with any value. They clickbaited a lot of you, and you fell for it. Hey, it's a free country. I don't believe in shutting anybody down. I believe in a free marketplace of ideas. I don't believe there is such a thing as hate speech. You're hearing this from me. If you don't think the Holocaust happened, you can say it. I'll have 50 scholars and all their research to rebut that. I can introduce you to Holocaust survivors who will show you the numbers on their arms. There is a YouTube channel that said there were no gas chambers. And I very seriously said, please show me your proof. He showed me the videos. Garbage. It didn't prove anything. Yeah, there were gas chambers. The Nazi regime was insane and wanted to systematically exterminate lots of people, not just Jews. They exterminated the handicapped and the infirm. Those were the first groups that were actually targeted by Hitler's murder machines, mass murder machines. Cheshire Cat says, no sane person takes Holocaust denier seriously. You're right. I would agree in greater measure. There was only one guy that had to be taken seriously. His name was David Irving. He was a notorious Holocaust denier. He raised money based on this manufactured outrage, but he had to be taken to court because in a British court, If you are sued for libel, you do have to stand against it. Libel laws are very strict. I think they should be loosened. The woman who took the challenge and won the case does not believe in Holocaust blaming or finding people for Holocaust denial. So I go back to square one. People are free to say that Jeremy Montanez was a plant. I really don't care. I met the guy. I ate with the guy. The guy paid for the Uber that took me to Trump Tower. He paid my way. So I'm going with my experience on this. You're free to believe whatever you want, but I want to say something because there's a lot of people out there who have been bewitched by socialist ideas, and we need to challenge them. Montanez said, "Oh, I support assault weapons bans," and I said, "You do know that a bat is considered an assault weapon. Do you want to ban that? A golf club can be considered an assault weapon. Do you want to ban that?" And all of this, caught his attention. He was willing to listen to me. Again, if he was a plant, I don't know why he would waste his time talking to me. He considered me a friend. There was a lot of very personal things he shared with me that were corroborated by his behavior, by other things. But you're entitled to believe whatever you want. Let me go to another level here. I shared this with some of my friends. Ultimately, I don't worry about people trying to deceive me. I don't worry about people trying to take advantage of me. I know who my Father is. I know where I'm seated. I know what I'm inheriting. I have promises in God's word. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Psalm 91, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High, I will say unto the Lord, you are my refuge and my strength. I don't worry about people trying to take advantage of me. Whatever people try to steal from me, God restores to me manyfold. So I don't worry about it. I don't worry about, Jaime Tapia. Jeremy Montanez is supporting socialists. Hey, I tried to make my case. If it didn't work, it didn't work. I've met people who they voted for Jill Stein, but now they're helping me fight the conservative cause. I'm interested in people who are walking with me, working with me, or at least willing to listen to me. And there's a gentleman named Michael. He's going to be joining me visiting a state senator's office next week to stop AB 2943. That's the other thing. While people are arguing about conspiracy theories and who's doing what to whom, what are you doing to help make California great again? That to me is where we really need to go to. Someone mentions it. Should I vote for John Cox? Yes. Yes, you should vote for John Cox. Unless you want to sit it out and allow Gavin Newsom to turn the entire state of California into San Francisco. Of course you should vote for John Cox. You're talking to a guy who voted for Travis Allen. You're talking to a guy who heckled John Cox during some of his debates. I'm absolutely behind John Cox 100% because I don't want Gavin Newsom anywhere near the governor's mansion. Let me switch topics now. I want to make California great again, and I need your help. We need to stop AB 2943. That's a bill that would essentially ban the Bible in the state of California. It would repeal or it would ban reparative therapy for adults. I believe adults should have a choice to seek relief from same-sex perversions and from transgenderism. I don't see why we should be taking away choices from adults. It is wrong. This whole LGBT agenda is out of control. They have shown their true colors, and it's not the real rainbow because it has 7 colors. We need to stand up for truth. We need to stand up for life. We need to stand up for family and not be afraid of these issues. I'm fighting that fight. I had 13 other people with me at a state senator's office yesterday. Why weren't there 50? More of you should have joined me. We've got more events going on. I've been emailing some of you. If you want to get involved, email me. Can you ban the Bible? Well, the state of California has passed many laws already, Jesus, that have been unconstitutional. We have had chairmen of committees declare that they pass bills even if they are unconstitutional. They admit it. This is how rogue, resistant, crazy the state of California lawmakers have become. We need to recognize this and fight back. Yes, Johnny 5, LGBTQP. Yes, the whole agenda has been going after children. Yes. By the way, all of you millennials and post-millennials, I told you so. We social conservatives, we Christians have warned you that this LGBT agenda is not about live and let live. It's been about they live and we got to live with it, or we die, or lose our jobs, or go to jail. And I'm not joking to you about the jail. Kim Davis went to jail because she wouldn't give marriage licenses to 2 women or 2 men to claim that they had a marriage. I have a friend of mine in Canada right now who is facing 2 criminal trials for hate speech because he passed out gospel tracts at 2 gay pride parades. Yeah, it's happening. There is a slippery slope. It's real. Dr. Paul Church was fired from his job as a doctor for telling his homosexual patients the truth about their conduct, that it would shorten their lifespan. He had a responsibility. He took an oath to do no harm. That means telling the truth to your patients about the destructive nature of certain behaviors. We need to fight back, folks. It's real. So that's a fight I'm fighting. Fighting illegal immigration. We need more cities to join the opt-out process to get out of SB 54. Jesus, where are you? Jesus Torres, what's going on in Downey? That city should have been on record by now opposing SB 54. What's the holdup? I met Alex Saab, one of the city council members, and I said to him, you need to get on record. I talked to him about that. I met him. I was in a video segment last month that was filmed out of Yorba Linda with Joseph Coury. You know, I'm doing it. I talked to another city councilwoman from Grand Terrace. I'm going to be reaching out to her, asking her to get her jurisdiction on record opposing SB 54. And also to oppose AB 2943. I'm doing stuff. Folks, that's what it comes to. So, Jesus, you know, let's fight the good fight. I'm helping you. You're helping me. Let's do this. Making America, making California great again. The other thing, too, just letting everybody know, you know, I've been raising money to buy a car. I've got the car. I'm just raising money to pay it off. So, folks, you know about my GoFundMe. Whatever you can do to help, please donate or at least share the link. Also, here's the big announcement. 3 people, 4, 5 people asked me. Finally, I didn't necessarily cave. I was glad for the encouragement. Yes, I will be at the Mother of All rallies, September the 8th. In fact, I will be in the D.C. area. I'm planning to be there. I'm flying in on Wednesday. I will be going to congressional offices and Senate offices to lobby on issues. Tell me what you want me to tell your congressmen, your senators about, and I'll be there on your behalf, as well as going after all the others. I want to get our wall built. I want to get illegal immigration to end. I want all this stuff taken care of. Gina Felica, hey, how are you? Gina is from New York City. She connected with me briefly when I was there online. She lives in New Jersey. She wasn't able to connect with me, and I respect that. It's very hard to move around in those boroughs. You know, the tri-state area isn't as easy to navigate as people think. So anyway, I'm also raising money to go to the Mother of All rallies. That's what I do. Yes, I do have a job. I have 2 jobs. I am having that, and you know, but it's not. I don't have money coming out of my ears to do what I do. I do need your help. I also have a PayPal account, so please feel free to donate to that. People have urged me to make a point about that, so I'm doing it now. I'll have those in the link. I'll have this in the description below once this live stream is done. Okay, so to recap, the CNN panel, we had a lot of incredible discussions. There's a lot of stuff that didn't make it to the final edit. I believe that not one of those Trump regretters was a plant. I've explained to you why. I don't give a rat crap what information was found, what videos they may have cast 2 years ago. I believe that they voted for the president for whatever reason. I don't have any reason not to believe it. I don't believe that CNN is that devious enough, especially with the interactions I had with Jeremy Montanez afterwards. And what's going on even beyond that. So that's what I have to say about that. I'm really glad that I did it. People were really glad I went to CNN. I spoke to a good friend of mine, Keith. He says, we go to the belly of the beast, we stand our ground, we fight the fight, we speak our mind, and there you go. And that's what it comes to. People, if you want to keep worrying about the conspiracy of who was it a plan or not, I will finally say this. All of this internal bickering does not make the country better. It is not going to make California great again. We need fights. We need the fight to stop sanctuary state. We need to stop AB 2943. We need to secure the borders. We need to make it very clear. Here's some other legislation that you could be calling your state senators about in California, if you live in the state of California. We've got SB 174. This legislation would allow illegal aliens to serve on public commissions and boards. This is just nuts. This is how resistance crazy the California state legislature has become. And believe me, it will be sued, and there'll be lawsuits against that. We have to fight the fight. Start calling your legislators. Go to their offices. Contact me if you want the information. I'll help you do it. That's what you got to do. We need to fight the fight. We need to make California great again, going past political parties and to fight for the values that make a country great, that make a state great, and that can make California great again. So there it is. This is where we're at, folks. This is the fight that needs to be fought. Harim is going to be talking to his state senator. I've got other people who are connecting to other state senators here in the state of California. Let's make that the priority. Okay, let's fight that fight. That's what it needs to really be about. So, to recap, no, I don't feel used one bit. I took CNN, I took them down like a boss. They gave me a national platform, and nobody could stop it. I got to meet two other wonderful Trump supporters who have stayed true to the team. We've got Bianca Gracia. She is leading the fight to connect to Latinos and to Hispanic communities in Texas. While everybody else is worried about Texas going blue, Bianca is fighting to make the state redder, and so is Damani. They're both from Texas. Damani has endured so much racial hatred and animus, and he keeps fighting the good fight. And they were both Democrats at one time, and now they're Republicans. They voted for Trump. This is the kind of thing that we should be celebrating. I want that to be what's news, that all these Democrats became Republicans and voted for Trump. And Chris Gagan, you know, he doesn't like the rhetoric. He has concerns about some of the president's presentation, but he told me, ultimately, am I going to vote for Kamala Harris in 2020? Of course not. He's going to vote for Trump. And these are the things that we really need to embrace and start celebrating and promoting. And I wish you guys would focus on that. I did videos on it. I wrote articles about it. I'm doing this. I encourage you to share this information. So with that, I'll leave the information I mentioned in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And I'll talk to you guys next week.